Thank you, Al. Thank you, everybody. This is great group. I'm running for re-election for the D20 Board of Education. He's Scott. Since we're among believers, I got saved my freshman year at the Air Force Academy. I've been serving the Lord for the last 40-some years. Russ Smith can attest to that. Russ is a dear old friend. We were next door each other in rooms, and if you all need to know, I don't support the mask mandate. So just FYI. I believe I'm the only one on the board that feels that way. Although they're good folks, but I am the only one. I appreciate you guys being here, and thank you for being involved. God bless you.
So the protest one, you'll see on your table, that's what I was talking about. Andrew, go ahead.
My name is Aaron Salt. It's all good. I've been called a lot of things. So I'm running for D20 School Board this November as well with Tom. There's a third individual that we're supporting as well. She couldn't be here this morning. Her name is Nicole Cons. And so I helped found a charter school just right down the road at New Summit Charter Academy. And one of the great things, one of the reasons why I founded that charter school and why I want to run for the district board is my ability to protect people by making decisions that other people won't be able to make. I'm against the mask mandate. I'm against vaccine mandates. I am 100% in favor of parents' choice and parents' rights. You guys have a much better perspective on your children than I do. No offense, you love your children more than I do too. So you're going to make different decisions for them than I would make for them. Also, all three of us are against CRT. I know that's a hot topic, so I'll just address that really quick. It is divisive and purely, it's wrong, it's false. But it also takes personal responsibility away from the students who they're claiming to be the most at risk. And we're telling them, hey, listen, it's not your fault. You don't have to worry about it. Working harder isn't going to solve this problem for you because the system's just stacked against you. And so instead of being able to empower those students and really help them and teach them and push them along, they're saying that they just can't do it. And so it's taking that personal responsibility away. Anyways, I'd love to chat with you guys some more if you have any other questions, but my time is way up.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Give them a round of applause. So many people are just waking up now and they're realizing what the heck happened to our country. All it takes for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing. That's the way we've been the last couple of years. So take a part, get involved, and you'll be glad that you did. So Steve's going to come up here. He's got a good word. It's kind of a continuation from last week, I hear, right?
Yep.
Okay. So
kind of a companion message. Well, yesterday, my wife and Charity, my daughter, were over at Rampart High School because we heard there was going to be this big walkout. And the student body president, can you imagine, a little 17, 18-year-old, led the walkout. I was so proud of her, and she was just awesome. And about 200 kids walked out because of the mask mandate. And then Liz and my kids and tons of mama bears from the road and other churches were there, and so it's probably over 300 out there. Got some great pictures of that. My favorite was this one kid who said, underwear don't stop farts and masks don't stop viruses. I thought that was pretty good. And that kid comes to the road, so that shows you kind of kids we're producing, right? My kind of kid, right? Next thing you know, some little ninth grader is going to walk and say, pull my finger. But anyway, I was proud of these guys for standing up. And so then I went over to the school board offices, and we had about over 300 for that, and spoke briefly at that. So many of you were there. So proud of you guys, and I'm very, very excited about Aaron and Tom and Nicole and what they're going to do. And so we were putting out Heinz working on the voter guide, and they'll be answering questions on that, so we'll be getting that. I think we're going to have 3 voter guides. So we started this mess, and others thought it was a good idea. So there'll be a lot of voter guides out there. But I'm pumped. It's good. It's like, let's just work together and have synergy. So it's fun to see so much action. I don't think in my 27 years in Colorado Springs, I've seen so much activism by a few churches. Most churches are not that active, but there's a number of us that are. Todd Hudnall was out there, Todd and Kelly from Radiant, so that was exciting. And then, let's see, Lawson Purdue from Charis Christian was out there too. That was cool to see. Myself, and then there was a representative, Scott. I think it's like, is it Scott Smith? Who was the police officer who was shot during the shooting? He's from Springs Lighthouse. So he was there for Brian because Brian was out of town. Scott Stone. So Scott was up there too. So anyway, it's very, very exciting, really encouraging. My time in Champaign, Illinois at the Iron Sharpening Iron Men's Conference was wonderful. I was there with Vince. We shared together. We were the plenary speakers, and it was really, really just a wonderful experience. Love what these guys are doing with Iron Sharpening Iron, with the conferences that they do. And then I spoke at a United Methodist Church on Sunday called New Horizon, but it was more like this church than a Methodist church. So it was really fun to be with them. They did an outdoor car show. So they had all these vintage Mustangs and Camaros and stuff all lined up in the parking lot with the hoods up, and you could go look at them. And then I spoke to the church out on the lawn. And guys, I'm not kidding you. Okay, this is in Illinois, right? The church is surrounded by like cornfields. And I thought that's exactly what you'd expect, you know? And I thought that, you know, a baseball player was going to come out of the cornfield or something. You know, it was a field of dreams. But listen, last week I talked about 5 stumbling blocks, and I felt like that I want to talk about 5 stepping stones for men based on the 5 stumbling blocks. So, you know, it's one thing to talk about, okay, these are our stumbling blocks, but today, in our brief time together, I want to talk about how a stumbling block, listen, can actually be a stepping stone. If you think about what a stumbling block is, think of it being a stepping stone. So 5 stepping stones for a man to grow in. And I really mean this. I mean, as I was working on this at the airport, I was in Dallas for 5 hours in the airport. And while I was there, you know, I could see why this is so hard for kids. I can't imagine 8 hours a day wearing a mask. I mean, all the science, and I think this might come out today with the papers with some stuff that I said, but all the science and the medical research shows how psychologically and even physically, how bad that is for a kid to be breathing in your own carbon monoxide right there, you know, in your mask. And so I found a place in the airport where I'm facing the runway, those windows there, and then I just took it off. It was just driving me crazy. But so number one is prioritizing PB&J. Prioritizing PB&J, and that does not mean more sandwiches. That is prayer, Bible, and journal. Prayer, Bible, and journal. Making that the highest priority of your life when you start each day. Now, I believe in starting each day in the Word, starting each day in prayer, starting each day in journaling, but you may not. I mean, your schedule, maybe you have to be at work at 4 a.m. or some unreal hour, and I understand that, but it's sometime during the day. For me, it's always been the morning. I've always made that a priority, and even when I had early morning meetings, I still get up early, and I do it early in the morning. But prayer, Bible, and journal, because if you're not listening to God, then you're going to have no idea what God's saying to you. I'm not real smart. I'm from Georgia. But I figured this out, that with my wife, if I'm not listening to her, then I don't know what's on her heart. And if I'm not listening to the Lord on a regular basis, I don't know what's on His heart. And so to take time to just settle your heart, open the Word, maybe even have a systematic thing that you go through where you're reading God's Word, and then prayer and time in the Word and then writing down what God's saying to you is huge in hearing His voice. Number 2, attending worship services and maintaining blood-stained allies. Now, I put those two together because I believe coming to church, being a part of a local body, is about garnering blood-stained allies. So that's how we gain blood-stained allies. There's something to be said about the power of worship together. And I really don't have a lot of sympathy, nor do I have any empathy for those who say, well, I just can't go to church, but I receive my touch from the Lord by going fishing. at Pueblo Reservoir. And I just say, that's a bunch of bullshit. Because the reality, you guys, is that God's the one who set up church. It's his idea, not my idea. I talked to a pastor, this is really sad. I talked to a pastor at the conference, and we were talking, and he was just talking about how hard it was at his church, and everything's so hard and all that. And I said, let me ask you a question. If you were not the pastor of your church, would you go there? And you know what? He didn't wait 2 seconds. He said, absolutely not. I said, that's on you, man. That's on you. I said, you build a church that you would go to because you're building a church that Jesus would go to. I want a church that Jesus wants to attend. I don't want a church that just gives me a salary. I couldn't care less about that. I want a church that I can't wait to be there. I want you coming to Wholehearted Men because you can't wait to be there, and it gets you fired up. I don't think I want anyone ever coming out of obligation or duty to the road, to your church, wherever you guys attend, if you're not at the road, or here. It's not about a duty, it's about a fire in your heart. So if there's no fire at that church, then that's a problem by that pastor, in my opinion. If he doesn't get more fired up by being at that church, then he needs to really rethink his mission and his vision for being a pastor at that church. And so, guys, I want you coming to churches all over this city that are fired up, that are going places, that are moving out, that they've got a mission and a vision. Because you start hanging out with some other men, you start hanging out with some other families, and they're fired up, it does something to you. You can't get that on a boat in Pueblo Reservoir. Do that on Saturday. But on Sunday, be there, man. Come on in. Be a part of the body. And then, bloodstained allies. That's why we set up the tables here. You need bloodstained allies. And so many guys feel alone. And I said this in my message to the conference. I said the number one problem in most men's life is isolation. That is the number one issue. And I talked about that last week, didn't I? So that's number two. So number one, prioritizing PB&J, or relationship with God. Number two, bloodstained allies. Number three, getting serious about dealing with lust. Getting serious about dealing with lust. If you don't ruthlessly go after lust, lust will ruthlessly go after you. And it is the number one personal temptation of our lives, and it's our eyes. I mean, it's the lust of the flesh. And so you guys have to become so serious. It's almost like if you were a bodybuilder or you're trying to get in shape, you're trying to lose weight, you go ruthlessly after that, and you'll see results. And it's absolutely true that if you'll watch what you're looking at on your phone, or you'll put some kind of restrictions on that phone, or you doing covenant eyes with some other guys, things like that, you're going to start to see a new kind of intensity and a new kind of presence of God over your life because you're fearing God. You put the fear of God first in your life, and you realize God protects your life. God's guiding your life. God's gonna open doors that no man can shut in your job and different things like that. Some of you have and are losing your job because of some of the stands you've taken. Well, God's the one who's going to open up the next door. And if you're messing around, he knows that. I mean, you can fool mom. I mean, you can fool all your friends some of the time and some of your friends all the time, but you can't fool mom, right? That's what I always learned. Well, you can't fool God. He knows what's going on. And so, guys, he's always interviewing you. God is always in an interview process. He allows temptation in our lives, and that's why we pray, lead us not into temptation, because that should be our prayer. That we really have an enemy of our souls here trying to take us out. And so he's interviewing us, and he's saying, Larry, you're going through this temptation. Will you trust me? And if you'll trust him, guess what? You get a promotion from God. Every time you say no, there's a promotion from God that corresponds with that. And so get ruthless about lust and get serious about it. Number 4, put in the time to nurture your family and your marriage. Put in the time. It's hard work. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. And it's not just about quality time. It's also about quantity time. Our kids don't just need quality time. They need quantity time. Your wife doesn't just need quality time. She needs quantity time. And it's work. It's hard work to nurture a marriage and a family. And so if you signed up by getting married, then you signed up for a grueling training center. That's what marriage is. It's a training center of character. It's not about getting your needs met. It's about a training center of character to make you Christ-like. Again, God is the one who came up with the idea of marriage. Okay? So marriage and the church are both God ideas, and they're both about training us and equipping us to be men of God. To be men who stand strong, men who don't quit, who don't cut and run when the going gets tough. Because it will always get tough. You're going to be in churches where stuff happens and it's hurtful. You're going to be in marriages where stuff happens and it's hurtful. You're going to be parenting your kids, and as they get older and they start sassing off, you got some issues there. It's hard. It's hard, and it takes a church to raise a kid. I really believe that. And so when you start hanging with church and starting to, have your kids in the youth group and things like that, there'll be other parents, other marriages that you're around, and as they have your vision and values, they can help you. We need each other. You're not parenting alone. You're not married alone. We're doing, we'll do our Valentine's Day couples conference again this year. It'll be a third year in a row. Because I like it. We do the tables in here just like this, because you'll meet some couples that you'll develop maybe even a long-lasting relationship with, and they'll have wisdom for you. Most of the time, you don't need counseling. Most of the time, you just need a really godly, mature couple that you guys get to know and have a relationship with, that you can talk together, that are Christ followers. Not just random people, but people who really have your vision and values. So work at that. Work hard at that. And it's worth it. Oh, man. I spend so much time with Liz, and as we've gotten older, we spend more and more time together. We're working together now because more of the kids are out. We only have, Charity and Josh at home. And it's just been fun because we nurtured it. It's been 36 years, of hard work. Okay, number 5, lastly, focus on spiritual success, not worldly success. Focus on spiritual success and not worldly success. So we men love to see ourselves as successful. I think that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, I shared last week that I believe in a man having multiple streams of income for his family and being able to, I like what John Wesley said, make as much as you can, save as much as you can, and give as much as you can. And so I want my twilight years to be the most generous years of my life. I want to have enough extra that I'm constantly blessing others financially. I would love to help people start businesses and things like that. And I'm positioning myself for that. But that was never my main goal. My main goal has always been spiritual success. And so, guys, to make yourself a spiritual success is to decide in your heart, I want to grow to be a sage. I want to grow to be a sage, not just a soldier, but a sage of the Lord. Someone that people come to, that my kids come to, and my grandchildren come to, and they feel like there's wisdom from grandpa. There's wisdom from dad. Well, that takes living a good life. That takes making good decisions. And as my rancher grandfather would say, he's a good man. When my grandfather at the kitchen table or at the dinner table said about so-and-so in Batesburg, Leesville, South Carolina, in that small town, he said, that guy's a good man. Man, that was the stamp of approval on that guy. And if Granddaddy just kept eating and didn't say anything when he heard the name, not good. Not good, Granddaddy never said anything negative about people, but if he didn't say anything, that was negative about the person. And so I wanted to be said, Steve Holt's a good man. He's true to his word. He doesn't mess around with money. He doesn't embezzle. He's not got eyes for other women. He's not trying to build his church to be the biggest church in Colorado Springs or something like that. No, we're building wholehearted disciples here. We're building wholehearted men here. Growth is up to God. Our main job here is to equip the saints. That's our main job here, to make you men of God that your women are proud of, and that your women love to be around, and that we love to be around because we can trust you. So if you're a liar, if you're an angry person, you're at the right place. We like liars. We like cheaters. We like angry people because God just changes you. So keep coming. And you go, you don't know what I've done. Yeah, I know what you've done. We've heard it all around here. And so we've got room for you. There's always more room for another cheater. There's always more room for another liar. And may you hang out with honest, good people, and it'll change you. And you'll lie a little less. And you'll cheat a little less. And before you know it, you'll wake up one morning, man, I haven't cheated or messed around in like a year. I can't believe that. That's God doing it in you, man. And so that's what it's like, because we were all there. We've all done that. So we've got room for you if you'll make room for God. If you don't make room for God, then, go somewhere else. But if you want to try a little bit, and you got some hang-ups, and you got some habits, and you got some addictions, it's okay. We love you. We're there for you. And we're not going to judge you. Most people know they're sinners. The problem is they don't know that they could be saints. And that's our job. That's our job here. So we've got some questions here. So at your table, how are you doing in each of these areas? Number one. Where do you need help? And how can we pray for you? So just take time now to do that. And you guys here that are the newcomers, you're all going to leave en masse right now and go into the lobby, and then you're going to turn right at the next lobby. It's kind of like our fellowship hall, and we're going to be in the library. And we'll give you a little bit of a lowdown on what the road, not so much the road, but what Wholehearted Men's all about. All right, God bless you guys. Live free! Live free! Live free!